someone asked me what I would do if I started from scratch today with all the programming knowledge that I've gathered over the years. So I thought this video I would go over exactly what I would do if I had no knowledge about programming or coding and I wanted to become a coder at some big tech company, or if I wanted to make my first million selling software. So just to give some background and context, I started coding when I was 17. So that was back in high school. I took one programming class in the junior year of high school, and I learned a lot of different programming languages on my own. But I majored in computer science through college, and then after college, my first job was at Amazon. This is like all the projects that I've done from high school up until, and then I have some that I haven't listed, but these are the bigger ones that I've released in the public. And then this is like my salary at Amazon before I quit, just to give some context and like credibility of like my programming experience. Basically, the story of how I learned programming from YouTube videos and making projects, that's what I would do again if I had to start. If I had a lot of time and not much money, I would create as many projects in the shortest time possible. As you create more projects, you learn how to build and ship projects faster and get a sense of like your favorite programming language after experimenting with a few. So the first thing I would do is just pick one programming language to start with. So I would start with Python, but JavaScript, Ruby, PHP, anything is fine if you're able to ship fast with it, but I would go with Python. The goal for the next 6 months is to ship as many projects as possible. In high school, what I did is I built and launched a new project every like 2 to 3 days. And a lot of those projects are just small scripts and web apps, but I think that's a goal where you don't put too much pressure on building this huge web app and trying to sell it. But like the intention and goal should be just like trying to launch as many projects as possible. So the goal that I would go with if I started again today is probably going to be shipping like 50 projects in the next 90 days. I think this is reasonable, especially with Claude and Cursor and all these AI tools that help you build projects faster. And I think with the 50 projects, you can create different apps. So it doesn't have to be limited to just like web apps. You can try creating a lot of Chrome extension, iOS apps, scripts, Python automation to help with your daily tasks. The main goal of this is just to build a lot of projects, and then afterwards you'll have confidence in building projects faster. So that's like the first thing I would do. And then the second thing, it depends a lot if you want to like get a big tech company job or build your own startup. If I wanted a big tech job, this is probably if you're less risk, if you have a lower risk tolerance and you just want a foundation of cash. I think this is pretty good, especially if you want a job and build projects. I would do a lot of LeetCode. So LeetCode is a site that has like a bunch of coding questions. So I would do LeetCode for 6 months, and I think after those 6 months, the chance of you getting a job is pretty high, even if you don't get into any of the things. So that's a goal where you just do 6 months of LeetCode. So let's say you don't want a big tech job and just want to go all in on startups. This is probably the case where you might live in a non-US country. So maybe you're living in Europe or India or somewhere in Southeast Asia and there's not that many jobs. So this honestly is the route I would go with if I didn't live in the States. A lot of the tech jobs are lower pay. Your time is better spent building projects and getting one off the ground. The time spent and the money earned is worth it paying companies, to be honest, because a lot of the junior jobs only pay like 100K, and then a lot is eaten up by taxes and expenses. Let's say you live in Southeast Asia and you want to make the first $10,000. I think it's easier if you do your own projects. Launch projects that solve a specific pain point and monetize them with a paywall. I think a lot of the mistakes that I made, especially in the earlier years of programming, is that I created a bunch of projects, but not a lot of them were monetized, meaning that the users could use a product for free and there was really no incentive for them to pay. That was one big mistake with my early project. No traction, or they got no paying customers. So I would aim to create one paid product per week, and I think if one takes off, then I would just focus on that one. So probably one per week is a little too much. Probably one every 3 weeks or every month. The goal is to find a problem or pain point and then building a product around that. It's not spray and praying where you hope like the shower idea takes off. It's you're trying to find a niche that has problems and people are willing to pay, and then you create products around that problem. I would do one project per month and focus on the one that really takes off, and focusing on actually finding a pain point and problem first before you build the projects. That's the high level overview. In terms of finding problems, I have other videos on how to find problems on Reddit, LinkedIn, whatever. You can also use like Exploding Insights to find problems in different niches. So let's say you're interested in design and UX and whatever. And what you can do in Exploding Insights is find like all the pain points in that niche with revenue information. It gives you more confidence and better signals. You won't waste your time because these are problems that people are paying for. But besides that, in terms of languages, so I would go with Python. I'll just say what I use and my general philosophy. So I think to keep it simple and to not add complexity. So that means having as little frameworks as possible, and also just going with libraries and languages that are very simple. Just because if you keep it simple, you have less chance of messing up. So I'm kind of biased because I'm most familiar with, because I've like pretty much tried all the languages. I would start with Python, and then this will allow you to create scripts and automation. You can use it for your own life, especially if you find something that you're doing a lot of. You can just write a Python script to help you automate. Start with Python. In terms of like web apps, so you probably will want some web app that allows you to have more like advanced features or with AI and whatnot. So I would go with either Flask or Django. So these are like the two languages for web apps. And then in terms of front end, so this is for the back end. For the front end, I would just go with Vue. Vue because it allows you to have a more dynamic front end, but it's very simple because with all these other JavaScript frameworks, they oftentimes require you to have this advanced build mechanism. And with Vue, you can just use it with one line of code. Import Vue into your HTML file and you can use Vue. Vue is like React but simpler. I would go with Django, Vue, and then in terms of styling and CSS, I would use Tailwind. So Tailwind is pretty easy to use, and all AIs actually have been trained on Tailwind, so it's quite good at making nice designs. We'll start with Python, but if you want to do JavaScript, Node, whatever, it's fine. I just find it to be like honestly a bit complex, and there's not much value, especially to the end user. Just pick whatever you want and stick with it. Don't jump around like I did. That should take 6 to 8 months, and you should be good enough where you can launch and ship any product that you want. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll see you guys next time.